Ominous indeed.
When many of the elder gods were corrupted and became what we would call demons, the god Atum, born from Gaia herself, was set upon our world to slay these monsters. In that sense, the two of you have had a shared purpose. Fight well, Hunter, and he may just honor you with his blessing. This shall be of great help.
Leave some for the rest of us. Now that was something. They cannot possibly match your strength. They are still coming. I am the only one left standing.
Atum was unleashed and made quick work of the demons, but in the process, he became something of a monster himself. He even became known as the Demigorg, the God Eater.
If this is a cautionary tale, your timing could use some work. You are too weak for this fight. I saw a move like that once, centuries ago.
The Elder Gods are clearly aware of Lilith's efforts. These beasts may look like her children, but they're only illusions meant to test your skills.
I am impressed. Your mother abandons you. Feel my power. The advantage is mine. You have earned this! will hold the line.
I think Blade is honestly jealous that you're getting this extra training in. And with live targets, too.
Once again, Lilith's servants fall. They cannot possibly match your strength. Return to your mother. I saw a move like that once, centuries ago.
Doesn't make an impression on Atum, I don't know what will. Good work, Hunter. With Atum's help, you shouldn't have any trouble uncovering the more elusive elements hidden throughout the grounds. Why don't you try out his blessing on that stone over there?
The son of Gaia approves. Autumn, show me the way. Something terrible happened here. Autumn revealed all. This area, it feels wrong somehow. I sense an old suffering.
Members of the local coven were persecuted here. And worse.
Witches?
Salem's history with witches may have been distorted over the years, but some things are true. The witches of Salem did their best to thwart Shaw, but he rallied his congregation against them. The catalyst of the infamous Salem witch trials. When the Coven called out in distress, it was Lilith and Sarah who came to their aid.
Caretaker and my mother knew their powers could help others, and they did not hesitate.
Of course not, dear. Your mother was a gifted healer, and Sarah was never one to back down from a fight. They also knew the signs of Chthon's influence, and Shaw's sudden rise to power undoubtedly got their attention.
Chthon's corruption had taken root in the New World, just like the colonists themselves.
And while Lilith and Sarah were still preoccupied in Transia, they entrusted one of the moon seals to the Knights of Wondercore, who brought it to the Coven with the hope that its power would reinforce them enough to deal with Shaw.
But that is not what happened.
Unfortunately, no. When the plague came to Salem, the same one that afflicted your father, Shaw used it to further agitate his flock by placing the blame squarely on the Coven.
And the witches?
The mob was vicious. And the rest is history.
But what about the Moon Seal?
After the trials, the Moon Seal vanished, along with Shaw. Without drawing any conclusions, I think we can both guess where it went.
If this was his church, then it is possible the seal is still here, or somewhere nearby.
You read my mind. Good hunting, dear.
Was this always here? I may have forgotten a few things, but I feel as if I would remember a decrepit church on the grounds.
You may not remember the structure, but maybe you've heard of the man responsible for it? Hiram Shaw? This was his house of worship, and like a great many things on the grounds, Sarah preferred to keep it in a sort of mystic quarantine. Even I haven't been inside.
Is that all she did while I slept? Seal things off for our protection?
She can be overzealous at times, but in this case, she was right to be wary.
So what dark secret does this place hold?
When Hiram Shaw first came to Salem, he was little more than a charlatan posing as a preacher. He managed to convince a few desperate souls to join his congregation, and with their help, he broke ground on this church. Whether it was coincidence or fate, in digging beneath the church, Shaw found something that would change the course of all of our lives. A long-forgotten page of the Darkhold.
If Shaw found a page of the Darkhold, it was because Chthon wanted it that way.
I tend to agree. That cursed book is always seeking out a way to return its master to power.
And a power-hungry preacher makes for the ideal messenger of darkness.
Yes, Shaw was an eager study, consumed almost immediately by the whisperings of Chthon and the Darkhold's power. Nearly overnight, the people of Salem, old and new, were at his threshold, waiting for the word. Yes, dear?
What do you know about my father?
That's not an easy question, dear. What would you like to know? Was he a good man? Yes, I think he was. Your mother loved him dearly, and he doted over her. I think for a time she forgot who she was, where she came from. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. She and Sarah both deserve to find something more than just another fight with Chthon. Lilith did. Sarah didn't. At least, not for a while longer still. I honestly think that's the only thing she ever had against him, blood or not.
Tell me about Hiram Shaw.
By all accounts, Hiram Shaw was a desperate man. Desperate for power, wealth, influence, the usual desires that cloud men's minds. As I understand it, he was a largely unsuccessful minister before his arrival at Salem, traveling from place to place, swindling whatever followers he managed to gain before being run out of town. To think that a simple man like Shaw finding a piece of the Darkhold was enough to set all of this in motion, it puts things in perspective. Until we speak again.
Atum must not see it that way. This must be Shaw's study. She believes in our purpose. Is not like anything I have seen on the grounds before.
And yet, it's familiar somehow.
Like the wards of protection that Wanda invoked to protect Dr. Strange's sanctum?
Very perceptive, dear. Maybe you should approach the good doctor and see if he has any insights. And Hunter, be circumspect. Dr. Strange is no fool. It's always good to see you.
Did Wanda ever make it to this place?
I suspect she did. But if she discovered something, she didn't tell me. Goodbye, for now.
He sees our path. Atum be praised. Autumn showed the way. The son of Gaia approves.
I should have known you'd wind up here eventually. You were somehow always here as a child.
If only I had known him. And still you masked even this from me. My own father's grave?
It wasn't you I was hiding it from. I've been making a lot of apologies to you lately. Now, they probably don't mean that much. But I am sorry, Hunter. Lilith's relationship with your father went against our ways, our purpose, or so I believed at the time. It was the Elder Gods themselves who first breathed life into us. Human notions like falling in love couldn't possibly be part of their plan.
And then you met Agatha.
If only I'd realized it sooner. I might have been a little kinder towards him, especially at the end.
What happened?
A great sickness came upon this area just before you were born. Your father was one of the first to fall.
With all your power, the two of you, you could not save him?
Lilith was a gifted healer, but this was no ordinary plague. The corruption went beyond his physical body. In the end, there was nothing we could do.
You were not affected by the plague?
We were all affected, whether we were among the sick or not. I'm sure there was a time when your mother and I both would have just as soon join the dead than continue to watch the villagers suffer.
I cannot imagine you ever reaching that point.
Lilith may have been the most skilled herbalist in the New World. I saw her perform near miracles with the potions she concocted from the plants in her garden. She was consumed by the idea of finding a cure.
But she never found one.
No, despite her efforts, nothing ever worked.
I can see how that would be a dark time for both of you.
With darker times still to come.
What did Lilith do?
She did what anyone would have done. She grieved. But in her grief, she lost herself, and her grief turned into anger.
Is that when you took me from her?
It wasn't long after that. Things started to fall apart before my eyes. I couldn't see another way out but to run.
The plague that turned her into the mother of demons?
No, this was something else, but cut from the same cloth. Your mother was no longer the woman I knew. The sister I had fought alongside for centuries. She was gone.
I have never heard you talk this way before, Sarah.
It's hard to walk the grounds here without churning up so many old memories. Maybe now you understand why I don't venture out here that often anymore.
Thank you, Sarah. Your timing may need work, but I appreciate the honesty.
Anything for you, Hunter. Anything.
If only it were always this easy to bring a family together. Tell me about my father.
Believe it or not, you can thank your father for those good looks of yours.
I only have the faintest memory of him.
He was honest, a working man, you could say, authentic. Of course, I still didn't like him, but that wasn't really his fault. I'm old enough to admit that now.
But he loved...
He loved her, and she was smitten with him. As the story goes, they were happy together.
Until I came along.
You were an unexpected gift, but a welcome one. Your father was very proud.
I wish I could talk with him now.
I know that feeling all too well, kiddo. Don't sneak up on an old lady like that.
There must not be anything here. This is which sign? That is something. Autumn be praised. Autumn reveals all. He sees the path.
Ah, Hunter, I was just admiring the collection. Someone spent a great deal of time piecing this library together. I hope you don't mind me, having a look around.
Of course not, Doctor. The library is an asset to us all.
I see I'm not the only one who's taken an interest in these works. You haven't been getting into anything precarious, I hope?
I have found something on the Abbey grounds that I think you should see.
Oh, sounds mysterious. By all means, lead the way. Imagine how powerful you might have become had you been training these past centuries. Still, you're making fine progress. I typically avoid venturing this far from the Abbey, especially at night. There's an unsettling air about this place.
This church belonged to a preacher named Hiram Shaw. His influence turned Salem against its coven.
A charismatic personality and a fearful populace can do much evil together.
There was more to it than that.
Yes, I suspected as much. It makes Tony nervous, you see. You were right to bring this to my attention, Hunter.
I thought it resembled one of your wards of protection.
There's a reason for that. It's the same magic Wanda invoked in her attempts to protect the Sanctum. But what is it that you're chasing out here? These wards aren't something to toy with.
I will not know for sure until I get past this. Is there any way to dispel it?
Unfortunately, no. What good would the wards of protection be if they were so easily broken? But I have been wrong before, at least recently. Do you have any suspicions as to who may have conjured this here?
Wanda spent a great deal of time out here, and she had the power.
She does have some experience with these spells, but why would she do that?
The only way I will know for sure is to find a way through to the other side.
I'll think on it and see if I can come up with some way to assist you, Hunter. For now, though, you'll have to be patient.
Always memorable when you get to bust up some ghouls in Manhattan.
You were there? At the witch trials?
Not initially, no. If I had been, I like to think I could have stopped them. I sensed something was wrong, and when the witches cried out in distress, I came to Salem as quickly as I could.
But Shaw had already committed his crimes against them?
Yes. It was a devastating discovery. And for the longest time, I blamed myself.
But you see now it was not your fault.
I've come to understand that we must accept the past and move on. But that doesn't mean I won't always carry that pain with me.
I know that feeling all too...
I know. And I wish you didn't, dear.
I have heard that Wanda's power comes from Chthon.
The way I understand it, as a child, Wanda and her family lived in Transia, not far from Mount Wundagore. Within that mountain, the dark god Chthon had long been imprisoned, his corruptive influence an ongoing threat to the people of Transia.
And Wanda was affected?
Whether Chthon reached out to Wanda, or he found her by chance, I can't say. But Wanda was blessed or cursed by Chthon, touched by the power of chaos magic. While he had hoped to make her some sort of acolyte, she proved to be more capable than even he foresaw.
What do you know about Transia?
Transia is your ancestral homeland, Hunter. The birthplace of Lilith and Caretaker. It has always been a sort of magical junction, drawing in every type of occultist, sorcerer, and even the occasional elder god. The Abbey grounds still behave in much the same way, even after all this time.
And Wundagore?
Wundagore Mountain has always played a prominent role in whatever scheme was underway. Chthon himself is said to have created the Darkhold, deep within the caverns of the mountain.
What can you tell me about Chthon?
One of the first Elder Gods, Chthon is said to have existed for tens of millions of years, well before the dawn of humanity on Earth. Believe it or not, he wasn't always the bastion of evil that we know today.
This story sounds familiar.
As the legend goes, the downfall of the old gods was actually brought upon by Chthon's brother Set, who found that by consuming his siblings, he could gain their power. After Set consumed Hypus, Chthon followed suit with the others, and in this way, many of the first gods also became the first demons.
And how did he come to be imprisoned on Earth?
In the same way Hydra has worked to restore Lilith, various cultists of the past sought to revive Chthon to wield his power. When Chthon failed to cooperate, these same cultists did the only thing they could. They locked him away again.
What was Caretaker like when she was younger?
I'm sure it's difficult to remember now, but Sarah wasn't always the steadfast contrarian. In our younger days, she was much more enthusiastic about dashing off to save the day.
That does not sound like the Caretaker we know and love.
Keep in mind, Hunter, Sarah has faced a great deal of loss in her time here. Everyone she ever cared about, in fact. I would say she's earned the right to be disagreeable, at the very least. I'm not sure I would have held up as well given the same circumstances.
Who were the Knights of Wundagore?
Another mysterious group of heroes in a world full of mysterious groups. Of course, I'm no expert on Transian history. I do know that the Knights of Wundagore were formed as a response to the growing threat of Chthon's influence near the mountain.
What exactly did they do?
Hydra was hardly the first to dabble in chthonic schemes. Many have tried and failed to awaken the Dark God. Over the centuries, the Knights fought alongside a number of allies who stood against the various crazed worshippers of Chthon.
Who's a good kitty? The son of Gaia approves. He sees our path. Was this bowl always here? Almost as if it were meant to be here. It seems my offering was accepted. If it was here, Atum would show me.